Welcome back to this segment of Python programming from beginner to programmer. So we have just gone through the classroom slide discussion to fully understand how Python's pandas data frame libraries work with the matplotlib pyplot libraries to come up with the ability to support graphics and charts drawing. Now we'll head over to the Spider Lab, and I need you to run your Spider with me. Then we can kind of play around with the commands and get some satisfaction out of seeing that the charts are actually drawn. Now, before we start, a few things about the configuration so that you can see your charts not in unexpected corners of the screen. Um, First thing, you might want to look at your view panes, all right, under plots. So this controls whether you see the plots or not. So if we select panes, and if this is unchecked, no matter how you draw, how beautiful it is, you won't see it because it's hidden. So you need to click it and see that it's there. Now, when we plot, the charts are going to be squeezed into this tiny thumbnail, and no matter how you open it, it's still very squeezy. So what you can do is you can click on this menu for this pane, this plot pane, to undock it. Okay, so when you undock it, you can kind of resize it to as large as you need to without trying to be too intrusive, right? So that's one way you can definitely, what did I do? One way you can definitely bring up the charts, okay, in a nice way. So it will be plotted inside and categorized on the as thumbnail on the right side. You can see a bigger one in the in this this sub window here. So the other thing that you want to so I just closed it and it sticks back into the docked plane area. The other thing you want to check on is the tools preferences over here. So when you run this, particularly click on IPython console because under the graphics part is exactly how the graphics are being treated. So for example, if you click automatic, then you will decide whether it is possible to put inline or else generate a new diagram. So if you put automatic, like in this case, like what we have, all right, and when we plot it, a new window will pop up rather than, well, one version of it, one copy of it will be drawn in this plot pane as a catalog of all the images, all the charts and graphs you have already generated. But the real version is being popped out as a window. We'll see in a while, all right? And if that is not desirable, you really want to see the chart and graphs being drawn directly inside this console area, all right? Then you really want to change back the tools preferences to inline. Inline means just like email, inline means it's inside parts of your email content. So here it'll be directly inside this console. So you will see this tiny little chart being drawn. There are pros and cons between the two approaches. It's not like one way will definitely work for everybody in all situations. Sometimes we do need that pop-up window for a bit of interactivity. Not much. I mean, it's not really that much more information you can gain out of it. But sometimes we want it to be directly inside the console for speedy browsing and verification of correctness and so on. So by and large, depends on situation. But I just want to highlight to you these two switches for you to be able to configure your screen. So let's begin by defining the necessary imports. I just copy and paste it. So Numby and pandas, we all know we have to keep them there. And the new kid on the block is matplotlib.pyplot. So pyplot is the Python's interface version with matplotlib, which is the big main library. So we're going to alias it as PLT, just like NumPy and Pandas. Try to stick to PLT because a lot of expert replies that you find in the Google answers to your Python questions will likely be coded as PLT dot something. So if you change it, you might train yourself to recognize pyplot differently. So we'll just first define a DF, nothing special there. And we like to basically demonstrate the ability to perform plots using DF plot, right? Okay. And we have all these words to help us remember. So we first initiate a new figure, plot.figure, and then extract the column D, which is this line here, dot plot dot pi. All right, and that pi is going to give us an axis, right? So hopefully it's not a strange concept by now. Axis is that charting area for that specific chart. All right, and we say that chart needs to have a title called pie chart of D. So let's run it and see. Now, you see that because of the automatic that we had just now in the Python console graphics, it's automatic. So um, Spider has decided, this is not Python, but Spider. Spider has decided that it can create a new window to display. So end up you see nothing here and nothing here, right? Because the all the drawing and charting has been channeled to a new window. So just tap around to see that this unfortunately is a bit quiet generation of this window. So you need to look around to find that you actually have this pie chart being drawn as a new window, as a new window. Now, a few things to look at. Number one is that look at my console here, it's already returned. That means we actually can interact with it, which means that this display is run by a different process. It's actually managing on its own. It's not running as part of your program. The program has ended actually. It's not, being continued anymore. So notice this part also that we did not say any display or show. By right, it actually will not show anything. We actually should be saying plt dot show for the chart to be shown. So here, Python has actually decided that, oh, or rather Spider has detected that you are drawing something, you must be wanting to see it, so that's why it's showing this figure. So when we plot this, the figure will create this area, this figure. That's why it's called figure 1. And so far we have issued one axis drawing command, and therefore this axis is as large as the figure. And of course, later on, if you stick with us, we'll see how to make 6 axes in one figure. So far, so good. Now, let's try to draw this inline, because then we don't have to, or at least I don't have to tap and change the windows and it's flickering the screen unnecessarily. So how do I go about it? Let me close this first. I want the figures to be drawn inside here. As in particular, inline means in line with the console. Here, let's go to Tools and Preferences. Okay, go to IPython console, graphics, and instead of automatic, we change to inline. Inline just means inside the console window itself. Next is the inline backend. All right, so how big should this figure be? Because if it's so huge, you might see partially this huge gigantic chart, and a lot of information is lost. Or if it's too tiny, then you hardly see all the details, and again, it's not communicating very well. So the big or small of the chart being shown depends very much on the resolution and the width and the height. So essentially, you can think of it as 300 dots per inch, or 300 pixels per inch times 5 inches. So horizontally, we have 1500 pixels. And if your screen size is 1024 by 768, then for sure you're going to see a very tiny figure, right? But if your screen size is somewhat denser, like 1920 or by something of the 1000 pixels, then yeah, you can see a pretty decent, huge chart. Everything is inside or containable within your screen. So use this wisely. I probably should set it to 3 by 2 inches. Why? Because I have a screen size that is about 1200 pixels, 1280, and 768 pixels. So if we multiply this out, we have 900 by 600. That will be a well sized window size or picture size for my screen to display the entirety of it. So try to choose it wisely. Now, this is the default for Spider to decide. You may need a bigger or high density or high resolution picture for your printer, and that is always dynamically controllable by a program using the plt.figure. So this is only when Spider needs to show you and it's not sure how big or how small to show you, it will consult this setting that you have inserted here. All right, so this is only applicable when you have this backend thing, inline backend thing. So let's apply the most specifically this inline setting, right? And if we run this again, you see that a new window is still being produced. I thought it was supposed to be inline because you need to exit and come back in again. Okay, so let me just copy this. So just copy and exit without saving. Okay, now let's come back in again to test our new configuration. So if we just paste back the original little bit of script, we should be able to see the charts being generated directly inside the plane here. All right, so not this one, new one. Nope, where's my, oh, sorry, it's lost. Okay, so here we are going to import the stuff and define the data frame. Okay, sorry about that. Let's run it. Okay, so creating a new Python shell on my machine takes a little bit longer than necessary. Um, when it hangs like this, it is best to let it wait a while and let it run to completion, just so that you don't want the the processes to be dangling, or left unprocessed. So let's run this.